Ladies and gentlemen, Tactical Advance here, and welcome to a little bit of an update video. Now, I watched the live stream yesterday for Star Citizens, and there were some valid questions that were asked there, so I'm just going to go through some of the questions, and I've sort of lined up a couple of videos for you as well. Now, someone asked, can you have two big ships in one instant? Now, they're saying that when you go into an instant into the game, into a battle, you can have, let's say for instance, 75% between you and the enemy, as they'll be all friends, and then 25% of that will be like open slots, so that anyone can actually join that. So that's interesting though, so you could have two Ignises fighting it out, so it's going to be very interesting. One of the other questions that was asked was, will the AI be intelligent? Which is quite a key one really. The AI will have intelligence, and they'll also gain traits as they go along. So, you know, as they go along, they might be angry, they might be rash, they might be... So they have characteristics, so which is nice. And then one of the other questions was, how will big ships land? Well, the honest answer to that one, they're not 100% sure yet. Because some of the larger ships, it's going to be tricky to deal with. Now, what I've done here, guys, look, I've lined up a couple of videos here, and I'll be popping in and out throughout the video, just giving you a heads up on what's coming next. But this first video is basically the new introduction to Star Citizen, so take a look and I'll speak to you in a second.
Mission Control, do you read me? Commander Roberts, Beijing Command, Boundary 42, come in.
The thing that excites me most about Squadron 42 is the chance to create a cinematic and immersive playing experience that hasn't been seen before.
A brand new game right from the start.
There's a lot of people out there, you know, chomping at the bit. And it's going to be, it's going to be a huge game.
It's really a chance with the technology going PC only to really deliver something spectacular.
When Chris came to me originally, he said that, you know, the universe of video games and the technology and software had caught up with his desire to make character-driven games.
There's a subtlety of movies, there's an emotion that you try to get across in moments and characters that I think I didn't appreciate until I was really sort of immersing myself making films. And so I really want to try and bring a lot of that back into specifically Squadron 42.
Sort of my first task when I came on board was, you know, all the kind of basic framework for what would go on to become the sort of beginning of the lore.
The first big challenge has been nailing the big story outline.
To create a strong framework for the story for Squadron 42 that's going to drive the game along, and also working with all the various offices that are around the world.
We have to write character work and relationships for people over whom we have no control at all, which is a fascinating challenge.
It's tough because you need to have a story that can shift and change based on how the player plays it.
So I think that in previous incarnations of games, a lot of the branches had to do with whether you won or lost a battle. Now they have to do with how you treat a wingman, or what kind of moral decision you make in a particular situation.
The great thing about being able to sit in a room with the guys from Manchester and Chris and talk about the stories, we get to lock it down. We get to kind of look at this and go, all right, here's what we're working with. Let's build off that.
Yeah. Made some good progress this week. I think we've pretty much nailed it now.
Now we know, what the scope of the game is. We'll be pulling a lot of people, I think, to make it happen. I've known Chris and Aaron since we were little kids, since sort of 4 or 5. We pretty much started school together, stealing Chris's early attempts to try and pass my exams.
I've known Chris and Aaron since the age of 4.
Worked on his first games.
Just a tight-knit group of friends, and it's just going to be so much fun.
Look, we're buddies again.
I knew Chris in a different life when he ran Ascendant Pictures, which was his film company, and I was his president of production.
The first game I worked on was Striker's Run, which was one of Chris's back in '85.
Games such as Privateer 2 The Darkening,
Privateer 2,
Starlancer.
Then it was Starlancer. Then I had a fun 3 years on Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter.
I'm working for Warner Brothers on Lego, on the various Lego titles, Lego Star Wars.
And with Chris's company, we did Outlander, and we did Lucky Number Slevin, and we did Lord of War. And when this came together, he asked me to join the Squadron 42 team as a consultant to help lock a story down, because he wants a more cinematic, more character-driven story than is common in games.
It's not something you do very often, and starting a new company up as well to do the game.
Got the call from Nick, saying it's a go. Then I spoke to Aaron and he said, what do you think? I was like, I'm in.
It was a weekend that Aaron rang me, and I had the family round, so I had to kind of drop a Sunday dinner to take the call.
And it was only when they were driving back to the airport, they happened to mention the idea of us doing the game.
Time for a new challenge. Yeah, it doesn't come any bigger than this, does it?
An opportunity we just couldn't turn down.
I'm actually really excited to be working very closely with the community to basically make something for the people who can be playing the game, rather than just developing something and then putting something out there under the sort of constraints of working for a publisher. And in terms of the way we're doing it now, we get to basically work directly with people. We spend a lot of time on the forums understanding what people want and what they feel, and basically where they want to go. And obviously we have a very clear direction we want to take it, but also it's great to also get that feedback from other people as well.
Something that can be extra special given the sort of support from the community.
We are making a game for the people.
I think that this company has completely reinvented the model of how to make media, frankly. I think that it's important to see opportunity, that the world is there to be reinvented.
We're working very hard to make sure that the story and the immersion and what we bring on Squadron 42 is going to really create a fantastic introduction to Star Citizen.
So I'm really kind of looking forward to advancing that level of sort of cinematic engagement that I did with Wing Commander with Squadron 42. And so, as far as I'm concerned, Squadron 42 is going to be what I would be making a next-gen Wing Commander of, all by itself. So it should be, just by itself, as good as any $60 retail AAA console game, and then you're going to have all the Star Citizen universe on top of it. So and I won't be satisfied with anything short of that.
Because it's so important that this Squadron 42 will lead the players into the persistent universe, and we want to make sure that that first glimpse of the universe absolutely blows people away.
A few more questions and answers. Another one was, are these the final character models, or should we expect something different in the game? Now, the answer to this question was no, these are not the final character models. These are temporary sort of models for now. They're actually investing in full body scans for the character models. And he said, Robert said, if I have to grade our character models now, I would put them at a 3, and what we're going to end up with is around about a 10. So that's great for us. So what you're actually looking at in your hangars at the moment, do not expect that to be the final models. Another question that was asked was, will there be friendly fire in the game? And the answer to the question is yes. So if you're with your friends, you need to make sure you do not shoot them. Another question was asked, how will the damage work on the ships? There will be many different types of damage states, and this will affect landing gear, so this will also cause an issue when you come to landing, and it would also affect the piping. Now, what that piping is yet, not 100% sure, but that could be piping towards the shields and your cooling maybe, possibly. It's not been confirmed, he didn't really go into much details on that. And one of the big questions is when's the next update due for the hangars / fighting module? We've been told there's going to be 2 updates before Christmas. One of the updates is displayed in the end of this video, what it's going to be, and the second is not been confirmed yet. Now, the non-confirmed update is going to be the fighting module, but realistically, from how the live stream went, it sounds like the fighting module is going to be sometime after Christmas. There seems to be a lot of elements they need to pull together before it's ready for launch, and with all fairness, I'd rather them release something that is has one or two bugs rather than has one or two bugs and doesn't meet to what our expectations are. So all in all, the live stream was definitely worth watching. There was some really good information there, and I would suggest if you Google it, and I'm sure you can watch the live stream. It was on for around about, I think it was on about, it was estimated for about 2.5 hours, ended up in about 4. And there was a lot more information in there as well, so if you're a die-hard Star Citizens fan, I suggest you go and watch that, but make sure you schedule in a little bit of time. Now, I've lined up a couple more videos here. One of them is on the PBR, which is the new, I say new, something that's already built into the Cryo engine, which is going to be implemented into the game. But firstly, take a look at the UI functionality.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Johnny Likens, our UI designer. Johnny, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm John Likens. I'm a UI designer, and I've been brought onto the project to head up all the design and UI elements inside the ships that you'll be interacting with when you're playing the game.
Can you tell us how you came to Cloud Imperium Games?
So my background is in film and television, and I got a call from Travis, who was referred to me from my work on Iron Man 3, where I did a bunch of the HUD design and UI work in that film. And it was at that point he explained to me what Star Citizen is all about, and how the work that I was doing in the film world, could directly be applied to what's happening in the game world.
So you work with Zane and a bunch of the other guys in the office. What is the workflow that you work on for the HUD specifically?
So when I start a project like this, I think it's really important to become quite familiar with whatever it is that you're designing the interface graphics for. For example, the Hornet, I'm creating the HUD and all the interface sort of design elements for it, and I believe that, it should be cohesive and feel like it's part of the same system. The design aesthetic of the ship should be reflected in the UI. I started out by just sort of flying around the ship, getting a sense for some of the design work and the line work that's already been built into the ship. Just taking notes from some of the forms and shapes that have already been created for this particular asset. From there, I'll just do a lot of sketches, and I'll be very loose and very fast-paced with sort of getting a lot of ideas out on paper, and then I'll just loosely either scan in those sketches from the book, or I'll just come in here and draw freehand on top of the plate and vectorize it and make everything clean and nice, and work with a grid and do all my typeface exploration in Illustrator and solidify all those ideas that were executed in the sketching process. It's different just because in film, all the UI and stuff, it's all just fake, and we get to sort of, make it up as you go. But in the game environment, all these things have to have a purpose, and they have to have meaning, and they have to sort of, function as an aid to the player. So I worked on the design for about a week and a half, and then worked on the animation for a few days, and that's kind of brought us to where we're at. But there's also been a lot that's kind of gone into it just to get to this point. For example, if you see this reticle, it's an actual 3D object. And so taking that vector design that you saw over here, knowing that we wanted to fly in and be three-dimensional and then eventually end up looking like this, taking that design that I created, that 2D vector art in Illustrator, I can then bring it into Cinema 4D and extrude all the pieces and place them in their own depth and animate them accordingly, and then I'll be able to export that out for the developers to work it into the game.
So what Johnny's focus is in this whole workflow is to come up with a high-level visual concept of the HUD, which includes the animation of the boot-up sequence, and also sort of like the damage states and how that sort of animates. And what my focus is in this workflow is to take that and then animate it so that it gets translated into an in-game asset, which I can then hand over to Brandon.
Zane hands that flash file off to me, and I plug it into the engine and make sure that the C++ code is interfacing with it properly.
So the cool thing about how we're developing this game is that we're releasing it piece by piece. And so for this first dogfighting module, the work that we're doing on this HUD, we'll be able to put it out there to the players and get feedback on that. What things could be improved, what sections of the HUD are readable or not readable, and then we'll be able to fold that feedback into future iterations of the HUD on different ships and even the Anvil HUD.
In Star Citizen, there's not a lot of abstraction in how the ships function. Everything is a real part that actually exists in the system, and all of those parts need to actually communicate with each other. So I've been doing a lot of work to make sure that there's interconnectivity between all of the various ship systems, and making sure that those have a way to communicate with all of the various output devices like the player's HUD.
So our goal is to create a really cool HUD, a really immersive experience. And one of the ways that we're doing this is to actually diversify the visual style of HUD by ship manufacturer. So right now we're sort of initially concepting the visual look and feel and design language for the Hornet, or Anvil Aerospace rather. So you'll see the same style in the Hornet and Gladiator, but later on when we actually get this workflow going and we start fleshing out more HUD designs, they're actually going to be way different. So in a trading ship like the Musashi ships, you're going to be able to expect a whole different experience because the visuals language will be different.
Well, there's a lot of systems that are going to be brought into Star Citizen, and you're going to need to interface into all of those. So we're thinking about things like navigation, star maps, things like that, possibly trade interfaces. All of that is going to be done in world. There won't be any sort of game abstract UI. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to doing going forward.
One thing what we're doing is we're defining different color spaces that'll be applied to different things. For example, customizability of these different color spaces. So a user can take the red color space or the critical alert color space and assign a different RGB value or color to that so that it's more readable to them.
Coming from, my background, not really being much of a gamer or anything, I sort of offer a fresh perspective and maybe like a new set of eyes, and I would maybe approach problems and tasks in a different way than regular designers in the game industry would, because they sort of know the limitations and they know sort of the boundaries of where they need to be working in. But for me, I don't really know anything about that, so I'm just kind of doing my thing, and then we'll work to incorporate it into a usable state for gameplay.
So exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing the UI. And one thing I was actually quite impressed with as well, I like the fact that they're actually making the UIs unique to their ship makers as well, which I really like. So that means if you do get another ship further down the line, it's going to be a new experience rather than the same old. Now the next video I've got lined up is basically it's a little toy that they're going to give us before Christmas, I think, because I think they sort of know that the dogfighting part's probably not going to be delivered. Anyway, so this is directly pulled from the live stream, and enjoy.
Setup here is we have the Gatling gun that's hooked up onto the Hornet that we're setting up for Dogfight V1. You can see the scale of the thing is just massive. So we got our test weapon mount here. So I'm getting into the chair right now, where you can actually just interact with it. It's going to swivel out for you, and you can actually jump in. It's going to pull you back in. And this whole thing is now like a whole firing range for you guys. So we just set this up so you can actually shoot at all these different targets. So a lot of these are all set up thanks to Forrest as well and Zane for these guys actually setting this target up real fast for us. So I got the Gatling gun, but also the best part about this whole thing is with the stuff that we have in the hangar, that whole holo table, you can actually swap out the guns. So here, check this out. So if you guys are all familiar with the holo table, you can actually pull in the weapon mount itself, and then go over to the weapons table over here,
I'm going to pull over one of the other, actually the laser repeater, and I'll plug that in. And then you can see it's actually swapped the actual mount and the weapon itself on the mount. And then that'll completely switch out the actual weapon that's available. And now you can actually shoot that one too. So it completely changes the effect, changes everything. So it's just demoing off exactly like what the weapons are going to be capable. And I was using this test platform actually to test out like the Hornet destructibility.
Exciting stuff so far, guys. It looks like they're really using their imagination with the UI. So really looking forward to see that in one of my ships later on. Hopefully this year, you never know, maybe next year. Now, the next part of the video I've actually got lined up, which actually I think is actually, for me, one of the more important parts. Now, it's some technology called PBR. It's actually already built into the Cryo engine. Now, the best way to sort of, explain it to you is imagine a pack of assets. So, for instance, if you're building a website, and before you build the website, you have all the tools you need. So you have all the buttons, all the designs, all the, it's all integrated in there. Now, what PBR is it's almost like a pack of all of them tools before you start. So let's say, for instance, the metal color, the way the metal's displayed, the way the light shines on it, the way it reflects, and so on and so on and so on. So what that does is it keeps a lot of consistency throughout the game. And not only that, there's no point them trying to reinvent the wheel on how metal, what's the best way to display it inside the Cryo engine. So using this tool pack is going to transform the game. I think it's going to be maybe a 25% shift in graphics. They're saying that it have a slight impact on graphics performance, but once again, this game is for the hardcore gamers out there. Now, I've already looked at my constellation in the hangar, and lighting is just not that great. There's a lot of dark areas. In fact, I think it's a little bit too dark. Is it because the hangar lighting's too low? Now, watching this next video, just keep in mind that PBR, think about the way things look, the way things reflect, the way the animation looks. It's getting more realistic and realistic as we go. Now, there is going to be a stage of implementation. PBR has been introduced at the moment, and it's been overlaid onto one ship, and this, what you're about to see. But what's probably going to happen, I don't know if it's going to be rolled out this year, probably more than likely next year. It will be rolled out across all ships, so we're all going to sort of get a sort of a skin overlay on all of our ships, making them look even more detailed. So fantastic news. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy.